This is Brian Sapient from the Rational Response Squad, and on the line with me now is Firefly515 from YouTube. How's it going, man?
Doing okay. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm really glad that you agreed to come on here and talk to me. For the people that are tuning in here, this will be on YouTube and a downloadable audio file. This is merely just a conversation between myself and Firefly. This isn't really a debate, and I really like Firefly's approach on YouTube, and you should check out his videos and respond and open up a conversation with him because of the many Christians that are online that are posting right now. He seems to be one of the more pleasant and open to difference of opinion. And while his arguments may seem to most of you like the same arguments that you hear from many Christians, he's willing to admit when an argument isn't a very good one. I took from one of the videos that you did, that one video, the one that really drew my attention to you, I took a bunch of little snippets from that 9-minute video, and I'll actually play your audio back, and then I'll comment, and then you can tell me what you think.
How did you become an atheist?
I was saying that there was a God that created the Big Bang, and then somebody who I respect greatly now to this day told me, he made me realize that I was simply creating a God because I thought a God should be there, because I've been conditioned through society to believe in a God. So when I got to this point where I accepted science as being more valid than the claims of religion, I still got to a point where I said, okay, well, how did the Big Bang start? And I said, well, something must have started it. And then I realized, this argument that it's actually, I succumbed to a logical fallacy. It's actually called the argument from ignorance. I didn't know how the Big Bang started, so I therefore supposed that it would have been a God. But in reality, that opens up a whole other batch of questions, which is, well, who created the God? And why can't, if God can just have existed forever to have created the Big Bang, then why couldn't the universe just have existed forever? So
I'm a Christian, and I'm also studied science. In college, I was a geology major, and my minor was in chemistry. To me, I think science can only take you so far. Logic can only take you so far. And where that stops, faith comes in. And to me, when I look at the sunset, and when I look at the universe, the complexity of the universe, and when I look at just in nature, I think that my belief is there hasn't been a divine creator. And the divine creator that I know is the God of the Bible. How
do you get to a point where you look at the sun and you say there has to be a divine creator? I don't understand that process and how you make that logical jump.
To be honest with you, there is no way that I can prove to you there is a God. No way. And there's no way that you can prove to me that there's not a God.
It seems like that is almost a entirely different variation of the question. I mean, I'm curious how you can look at the universe and the world around you and see a God somehow. That's when you talk about faith. First of all, how would you define faith? What is faith to you?
Faith is believing something without hard evidence.
If that's true, and I agree actually that that's a good definition of faith, then what is the difference between somebody who looks at the universe and says that I see that it was created by the God of the Bible, and somebody who looks at the universe and says that it was created by the flying spaghetti monster or an invisible pink unicorn or all the other things that you hear? How can I differentiate the two?
To me, it's just faith. There's a lot of logical arguments out there, and there's a lot of philosophical arguments out there. And we could argue those till the cow comes home. To be honest with you. And I think it has a lot to do with how I was raised. I was raised Christian. My family's Christian. I've studied other religions. I've studied the God of the Bible.
Right.
And I just come up, and this is the choice I make. And I cannot scientifically prove to you or philosophically prove to you that there is a God. To be honest with you, it's just, to me, it's just a question of faith.
Right.
I mean,
but see, what I'm trying to show is that I don't think that using faith is a good way to determine what you hold to be true, because if I can use faith to believe in something, I can use faith to believe in anything. To me, there is no difference. I don't see any difference between thinking that the flying spaghetti monster created the sun that I do that the God of the Bible created the sun. Both claims take an equal amount of faith. I just don't see a way to differentiate it. And you talk about how you were raised. And that actually brings up an interesting point, which is that if you grew up in the Middle East and you grew up to believe that Allah is real, because that's how you were raised from your parents, and they have faith, now today you're an adult that has faith in Allah, what makes your belief any more true than his?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It takes the same amount of faith to do that. And the reason why I believe my faith is right is because Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one shall come to the Father but through me. And I believe what the Bible says about God.
Right.
And to me, that statement, from what the Bible says, means that Christ is the only way to go to heaven. And, I accept that on faith. And that's, I hope that answers your question.
It does, but it obviously it doesn't get me to the point where I think that faith is a valid means to determine what's true. And I don't think that you should use it either. I think that you should. Well, you tell me, how many things in your life, can you name one other thing in your life that you don't have proof of, that you believe in, that you have to use faith in order to accept it, the truth of it?
That's an interesting question. I've never heard anybody ask me that before.
I can't think of one that I don't use faith for anything. I can't think of many things unless, of course, you accept like ghosts. If you believe in ghosts and, I don't know.
Well, okay. Well, this will be another thing. I do believe in ghosts. I've actually seen a ghost. So,
okay.
I mean but when I tell people that I've seen a ghost.
Okay, well, off of ghosts, what other things do you think that you believe in your life that you don't have proof of?
How about faith in my marriage? I mean, I expect my wife to be married to me forever.
Do you know it for sure, 100%?
I mean, I believe my wife will be with me.
What would you say that your level of belief in God is? Would you say that your level of belief in God is 100% that you're certain God exists? Or would you say that it's just a belief that you hold that you admit that you could be wrong about?
I believe my faith in God 100%. But of course, there's always that doubt in your head that says maybe he's not there. And I think that's human nature to question, what you believe, and anything in life is a question.
I would think that's hope, not faith. You hope that your wife will be with you forever, and it seems like you put some trust in that, but it's not a blind belief that you're 100% right that she'll be with you forever. Whereas in God, you believe that you're 100% right. I believe there's a difference there. Additionally, here's the other thing. Let's get off of that and just move into like how you can prove to yourself that like your wife loves you and that you have a good relationship. You witness the relationship. You can interact in that relationship, and you can show anybody else. You can send video to people so that they can verify your claims that you have a good relationship with your wife. For example, if your wife told you she loved you every day, but she walked up to you and punched you in the face and said, I love you. Somebody might say, well, I believe my wife that, I trust that she loves me. Well, if you trust that your wife loved you, she walked up to you every day and punched you in the face, and she never did any like housework. She never helped you. She never was there to support you. She just wasn't there for you. It would be silly for you to believe that. But if your wife cleans and she, works hard and has some sort of career, and she, makes dinner for you time to time, and she helps around the house, and she's there to support you, and she loves you, and she will talk to you anytime you want to have a conversation with her, Now, these are ways to verify that your wife truly does love you. And these are things that you can take based on proof. You can, in a way, you can scientifically test whether or not your wife actually does care for you or not. You can continuously ask for favors and try to have a conversation with her, and you can see over and over that she does care. So you have a good reason to expect that your wife will be with you for a long period of time. But to believe 100% that she'll be with you for the rest of your life and that nothing could ever go wrong, you dodge reality there. You forget that, relationships aren't always like that. You aren't now living your life based on past experiences. When you've had other people in your life that you probably were very close to, you thought it was a very good thing, and it didn't work out,
Yeah.
So I think that there's a big difference there.
I mean, I think I have more faith in God than I do in my marriage, and I don't expect atheists to understand that. I mean, because you have your mindset and I have my mindset, and my whole point on doing this is to find common ground, because if you try to put God under the scientific method, you can't prove God by the scientific method. I mean, there's no evidence. I mean, the only evidence that I have for God is what God has done for me in my life.
Okay.
My personal testimony.
Which is
the only evidence.
Which isn't really even proof. And I'm just to make sure before I move on from this, can you name one other thing that you have belief in your life that you don't have any evidence for?
I'll have to think about that. I can't.
All right. Well,
so,
that's fine. Sleep on it. I'll be curious.
Okay.
All right. You also said something a moment ago. I just want you to know. You said something about you don't expect atheists to understand your faith. I do. I understand. I was there, and in fact, that's part of one of your next questions. So I won't get ahead of myself here. Let me play what your next question was from the tape.
What life experiences did you have to make you believe there's no God?
I wouldn't call it life experiences. I would call it just learning, really. And I don't know if that's necessarily life experience. I think maybe you were looking for like my mother died, of cancer, so therefore I thought that God let me down or something like that. That kind of sounds like where you were going with that, but I don't look at things like, I just think that I was interested in what was true. Through researching, I've come to realize that I can't believe in a God and be honest with myself. If I don't have proof for something, I don't believe in it. You couldn't name one other thing. You can examine me if you want under a microscope for months and months, and you will not find something that I believe in that I don't have proof of. And I cannot break my own truth code and what I use as proof for something if I'm going to be honest with myself and just believe in a God because 80% of the world does it.
Seems like the atheists that I've talked to, which are very nice, they are the type of, I've heard this statement from atheists numerous times. If I can get hardcore proof, scientific proof, hardcore proof, like, for example, if an amputee's limb grew back, that they would have no choice to believe there is a God.
Right.
And some people are that way. I mean, some people, they need hardcore evidence for them to believe.
Right.
And I hope and pray that atheists out there would get that proof.
That would make it so much easier, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And not just for atheists either. All the Muslims and the Hindus and the Buddhists, all these people should have proof that Yahweh is real. Or maybe when we get proof, it'll be the flying spaghetti monster will descend from the sky and his noodly appendages will be upon us, And, you were talking about the common thread that you want to find between us. And I think that you'll be searching for that one forever because there's one common thread among atheists. And that is they all lack belief in a God. There's one common thread among theists, and that is they all have a belief in a God. Now, past that, you could say, well, we're all human. But you can't say things like, well, we're all loving beings, or we all are in pursuit of the truth. These are things that I think you would admit there are people out there that aren't loving beings. There are people out there that aren't in pursuit of the truth. Even if we, you
are absolutely right because, on my videos on YouTube, I get so many comments. Just rude, cussing, mean comments from atheists. And I don't want to deal with those people, But like I said, I have several atheists that subscribe to me that are very nice. very open. And, we'll get into heated debates and we'll go back and forth and, and we'll express our views. I mean, there's this one guy named Damien Wall that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
And he is we have mutual respect for each other. And there's another guy that I really like. And his name's Brett King. And he did a video about me and another guy called Jesus Freak, 777. And he said that he had great respect to me because he was getting threats from Christians and from Muslims and stuff like that, threatening his life and threatening his kids and threatening to do things to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, it is not right, and those are no Christians that do that because it's not right.
I'll move on from there because I did want to touch. You said something about how there are atheists that say bad things in your profile, and of course there are Christians who do the same thing. So the overall point is I don't think you'll ever find a common thread unless you want to make your common thread so generalized and vague that the common thread is, well, we're all human, or, well, we're all breathing. All right, let's move on to the other questions here. Let me see what we got.
Okay.
Number 3, what is your atheist testimony?
What do you mean by that? What is my atheist testimony?
That was a stupid question because
okay.
I was thinking that atheists had
like Christians. The comparison is what you're familiar with Christian testimony.
Yeah, I mean the same thing with the Christian testimony, and I had to lie atheists say, what do you mean by that? And that was just probably an ill-informed question.
Okay, all right. All right, so let's move on here because I think now we get to, I think we get into the juicy stuff here, so hold on. Let's see.
Okay.
And number 4, were you ever a Christian before you became an atheist?
So that's the last one before we get juicy. Yeah, I was a Christian. I grew up as a Catholic and then became a born-again Christian at 13 years old and slowly distanced myself from religion when I realized that a lot of the claims of the born-again Christian church seemed extremely outlandish compared to, the knowledge that we have of the world today. And things like the earth is 10,000 years old and, dinosaurs lived with Jesus Christ. It just seemed silly to me. What is your view, by the way? I'm just curious because you talked about you studied geology and science in college. Do you believe the earth is 10,000 years old or?
I accept the scientific belief that the earth is like 4.6 billion years old.
Right.
There are groups out there, Christians, and they are called New Earth.
Young Earth
leaders.
creationists, yeah.
And I think they are absolutely nuts. I mean,
there you go. Do you believe in evolution?
I believe in microevolution.
Okay.
I'm questionable about macroevolution, if you know the difference.
Okay. I do know the difference. Microevolution, we would consider that like taking like one step, like one little change. And macroevolution is a gigantic change. I guess the question that I would have for you, since you don't believe in macroevolution, because really evolution is just evolution. Microevolution is merely a smaller change in macroevolution. So the question I would have for you would be, how is it that you can't walk a mile taking one step at a time?
Well, the reason why I'm questionable about macroevolution is if you look at the fossil records, there are serious gaps in the fossil records. And basically, for the common lay, there are missing links. And we have not found those links yet, from my understanding.
Well, links in what? You're talking now only about the human species, or?
No, I'm talking about, like, the horses, the evolution states that, animals evolve over time and stuff like that. And
the thing I'm getting at, though, is you believe in microevolution. If you believe in microevolution, you accept that evolution happens, that species can change over time, whether it's a small change or a big change. If you understand that species can change in a small way, okay, macroevolution is just a lot of those small changes over and over and over and over and over again.
And these big old jumps that you're talking about is that we have not found any fossil evidence. I mean,
but that's where we're not going to be able to address that in this show. I'm going to have to direct you to a link, and for the, I'll pull it up now. But I mean, there's plenty of evidence. Okay, if you go to rationalresponders.com, this is just for anybody. You can go to rationalresponders.com and then click forums at the top, and then scroll down about halfway through the page and click the Evolution of Life forum. And we post extensively links around the web where you can find some good evidence for evolution, including 29 a piece on Talk Origins called 29 Evidences for Macroevolution. But there's a lot in the fossil record. I mean, that's not something that you and I can debate. It's not a debatable point. You just have to look at the research yourself and determine for yourself.
Well, the reason why, I said with the macroevolution, I said that I'm questionable on that. I have not studied. I have not looked at any evidence or, like that. But my whole point that I want to make about evolution is I believe that God created us through evolution, and to me, when I look at evolution, it doesn't threaten my belief in Christianity. It doesn't threaten, because there's a lot of people out there that'll debate, that Earth was formed in 7 days, and, and there's a lot of people that'll debate evolution and creationism. To me...
Yeah, I wasn't proposing even that believing in evolution would take away the need for you to believe in a God. It was actually a question in the chat room that I had that we have a chat room going at the same time now with a couple people in it, not many. So it's just a question. But that was interesting, though, that you just said God created people through evolution. How does that jive with not believing in macroevolution? Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, I don't really have an opinion on macroevolution. I'm not an expert on that,
You should definitely spend some time researching, hundreds of hours of research behind these links that I'll give you.
I believe it's possible, but I need to research the evidence and make that decision myself.
Right. But see, what I'm saying is if you already believe in macroevolution, then you believe in evolution. Evolution isn't... Creationists like to break it up.
I see that point.
They like to break it up.
That point.
They like to break up those two forms of evolution, but macroevolution is really just microevolution happening over and over and over and over again.
Okay. Well, then I can see that point. I do believe in evolution. So.
All right, let me play the next clip because these start to get fun here.
I don't see much difference between atheism and Christianity. They're both religions.
I define religion as belief in a God because in the first 3 definitions in the dictionary, it says that religion has some sort of divinity behind it. The 4th definition, it says a set of beliefs. Now, is that where you're going with your...
I'm talking about a set of beliefs.
Okay, what do you think? How do you think atheism is a religion?
Well, it's the same way that... Okay, like in Christian circles, there's all these denominations. There's a denomination called non-denominational. It's a non-denominational church, but in itself is a denomination. And probably how I was looking at it when I said that was that each group has a certain set of beliefs. I mean, like number 1, you don't believe there's a God.
Okay,
number
wait a second. Whoa. Let's just stop right there before you move on to number 2. Try to remember number 2. How is not believing in a God a belief? How is not believing in something believing in something?
You have to believe there's not a God. I mean,
I don't believe there's not a God. I just don't have a belief in a God. I do not have that belief. 90% of the atheists I know don't have that belief. A baby, by definition, is an atheist.
Okay. There's another argument that I read is when a belief or when a piece of information is presented to you, you have no choice but to deal with that information. I mean, you can't see a car wreck without internalizing it, without forming some sort of presumptions or an opinion on it.
Okay.
And I think you guys saying that the lack of belief in a God is a bunch of BS.
Say bullshit. Say it.
On that.
Okay, well,
because, like, for example, when you are presented with evidence, you can either believe it or not believe it.
So how is not believing something believing something?
I'm just saying that you believe there's no God. Well, like, for example, if I, because you don't consider the Bible, you don't consider testimony.
I really don't believe there's no God. I seriously do not believe there is no God. I cannot, when you state it like that, I cannot agree with that. It sounds to me like somebody's lying about what I believe. You have to understand that. I'm
talking in general. I'm not talking specifically about you.
Well, but I'm an atheist. And if we're talking about in generalization, then it needs to be one that runs the same across the stream. And that's why the only thing that really can be a common thread between atheists is that they lack belief in a God. Some atheists actually go that step and say, I believe there's no God. Perfect example. A famous piece. You could actually look him up. Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller. He wrote a piece a couple months ago, about a year ago, called I Believe There Is No God. And in fact, he even pointed out in there how he's kind of laughing a little bit at atheists who are like me. Because he recognizes that there are some atheists who are simply without a belief in a God. He goes a step further and says, I believe there is no God. That is the step further. That is denying the existence of God, whereas I simply disbelieve. I am willing to, if you were to present evidence to me today, I would become a believer. And at the same time,
okay, yeah. I mean, you're right.
I don't sit here and think there's some sort of absence. Sorry,
well,
you were going to tell me I was right, so I wouldn't want to interrupt.
Yeah. You are right in that respect. From my experience with the atheists on YouTube, like Brett King, he says, I believe there's no God. And most of these popular atheists on YouTube state they believe there's no God. And that's where I get most of my firsthand experiences with atheists. And sure, if you're one of the atheists that says, well, I have a lack of belief in God because I have not been presented with evidence, then yes, you're right. There's a difference between that and someone that states, I believe there's no God.
Right. Well,
and and this is a learning experience for me because I did not know, until now, there was a difference between those two statements.
Well, that's why you really have to watch the generalizations on it, because like I said, there really is only one common thread. But okay, so let's excuse this notion, okay? The atheists believe, okay, let's pretend like you were right, all right? And that I agreed with you, that all atheists believe there is no God, because that was your first concept as to why atheism is a religion. So that's now our overall point, that atheism is a religion, which I very much disagree with. So the first thing is you say that, okay, they believe there is no God. And there was a second point. I hope you still remember it. I interrupted originally.
My second point is that you guys believe in science.
Okay.
I mean, and most importantly is you believe in logic.
Okay, now do you know that there are atheists out there who don't accept science as the most valid form of reasoning? And there are also atheists out there who don't use very good logic. In fact, I know plenty of atheists who are horrible logic. They're just paltry thinkers. Did you know that?
Yeah, I mean, there's always some atheists that are exception to the rule.
Okay, but you're saying that atheism is a religion because you're making a sweeping generalization that all atheists believe in these set concepts, but that's not true. That isn't a common thread amongst atheists, that we all believe in. I met an atheist a couple months ago that didn't believe that we got here through evolution. Don't ask me what the heck he thought how we got here, because I don't know.
Sure. When you make a broad, sweeping generalization, there's always exceptions to that. You know, when I made that video, that was my initial impression of atheism.
Okay. There are different beliefs within Christianity. Okay.
Sure.
But I think that we both would agree that Christianity is religion.
Sure.
There are different beliefs amongst atheists, but I can't agree with you that atheism is a religion, and I hope that I can show you that atheism isn't a religion.
Okay.
The belief that there is no God, what you're saying is that believing there is no God, believing in science, and believing that we can use logic to determine the truth of things. Okay, those three things. Now we have three beliefs. They're just random beliefs that, okay, I will agree. There are, I would say, probably 10 to 20% of the atheists out there hold those things true. Okay? I think Brett Keane is probably one of them. All right, because you talked about Brett Keane.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll take Brett Keane. Now, Brett Keane also probably believes that when he puts his car key into his car, it'll start. He probably also believes that he has 4 tires on his car, and he probably also believes that it's because of the engine that his car moves forward. Now, is that a religion?
No.
And so my point is that just taking 3 random beliefs that somebody holds, even if they seem comparable to your religious beliefs, does not make something a religion. A religion, if you look at the first 3 definitions in the dictionary, it specifically talks about everything related to God. The 4th definition is a set of doctrine or principles pursued with zeal or something like that. But there are a lot of atheists that are live and let live. There are a lot of atheists that don't even care about religion. So you can't say that atheism as a whole is pursued with zeal. And you can't say that's a set of beliefs because there is no common guaranteed set of beliefs amongst atheists. So I just can't agree.
I mean, you have valid points. And when I made that video, I was ill informed. And I mean, the whole point of doing that video was to learn about atheism because, I had several obviously misconceptions about atheism.
There are probably enough atheists out there to reinforce your misconceptions. So I don't look at you as being dumb or anything like that. In fact, I really admire the way that you operate and that you're willing to admit a mistake that you've made in your thinking. And, I too feel like I'm not above that. So that's why I wanted to talk to you.
In my new piece, I say it's a social and political movement. Probably that might have been more accurate of saying that way.
I think that you really are gonna want to watch it because you're looking for something to call it, but it's not that. It's not a social and political movement. There are atheists. Atheism itself wouldn't be the movement. I don't know if you realize, I don't care about atheism. I don't get I renounce my atheism right now, but it doesn't mean anything.
That surprises me because of your blasphemy challenge.
That's the thing. See, I care more about how flawed Christianity is than I do about what I am because I don't believe in Christianity. I'm merely an atheist because I don't believe the claims of theists. Okay? I wouldn't choose. I don't have a word to call myself because I don't like small screen TVs. I don't like small screen TVs, so I'm an small screen TVist, and I don't guide my life about my small screen TVist. I just don't buy small screen TVs. Do you follow what I'm saying? I don't like small screen TVs, so I just don't buy them. Well, I don't like theism doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't seem, it's not true to me. And so I don't believe those claims. But unfortunately, there's so many people who believe in theism, or that are atheists, that there's a word for me, and that word is atheist. I wouldn't have a label for myself. You know what I'm saying? Sure, I'm not like atheist power. I don't care, And so to me, atheism isn't a political movement or a movement at all.
Would you say that the only difference between me and you is I have a lower standard of proof. I say proof in a loosely term.
I think I showed you earlier that our level of proof that we need to believe in something is likely the same, except I remain consistent when it comes to belief in a God, yet you give God a free proof pass. I think that the reason why you do that is because you grew up with religious belief. You see society as a whole as believing in a God, so it seems normal to you, and you see it over and over and over again, and it just seems right. And so, therefore, you've given this God a free pass. If this flying spaghetti monster concept, which, you know, you obviously have heard before tonight, correct?
No, I heard about the flying spaghetti monster.
If 80% of the people in the world believed in the flying spaghetti monster, that's what would seem normal to you. Now, right now, if I said, like, literally, I believe in the flying spaghetti monster, you would get a kick out of that. I would hope that you would think that that has some sort of humor to it.
Yeah.
But that's the point, that the flying spaghetti monster has as much proof as your God belief does. The reason why your God belief is different is because of all those conditions and factors that I mentioned, that so many people believe in it, and you grew up with it, and so therefore it has a sense of normalcy to you. It doesn't seem silly, but to a lot of atheists, when you look at it from the outside, when you look in, to us, that's why we use the flying spaghetti monster as an example, because to us, it is no less silly. To us, they are on an equal silliness factor. And so I really think that you probably have the same level of, you probably require the same level of proof I do for most of what you believe. You seem like a reasonable guy.
Yeah.
And, that would be that point. We have, by the way, like a ton more clips. Let me move on here.
Science is imperfect and flawed. And on a side note here, why is it that atheists think that all scientific theories, like the Big Bang Theory for one, or evolution, are stone cold facts? Guess what? They're not facts.
All right. That's the big one right there, right?
I guess so. That's the big one.
I assume you've gotten a lot of response to that claim, correct?
I have gotten a lot of responses from that claim, and in the scientific world, if you look at the scientific process or scientific, there are tons of evidence out there to support, like evolution and the Big Bang Theory. But my point is that we cannot know 100% for sure that's how it happens. I mean, we have all this evidence out there that has happened. And to me, in my mind, I was thinking, yeah, it's a theory. This is what we think does happen based on the evidence that we have. It's not a stone cold fact.
Okay. Then let me ask you something. Is there any such thing as a fact?
So we're playing semantics here.
Well, I think it's you that started the game, though. See, that's the thing. I think that we can call certain things facts because they are as true as something can be without being 100%. They are 99.9% with a line over top of them. Okay. I think that many times people will say this is a fact, but if you said to them, do you mean it's a fact like 100%? There's no way that it could be any other way, or it's 99.9% chance of fact? I think that most reasonable people would say, well, it's 99.9. You know, if you got them and you explained to them why you wanted to know, I think they would say it's 99.9, and that's the thing. But it's interesting because what you're trying to do is you're trying to make a comparison. You're trying to say that, you know, the claims of science aren't facts, so therefore you're religious. And I think that it's ironic because we're looking at something that is like I'll even cut 9 percentage points. Okay. I'll cut 50 percentage points. All right. The Big Bang Theory is like likely 50% chance that it's a fact. Now, the theory of God to me is like a 0.1% chance. And what you've done is said, because science to you isn't 100% fact, you're going to say then that God is 100% fact, or I don't know, as close to fact as you can make it, I guess. But if
to me, in my life, and because of my faith, God is 99.99% fact.
okay,
I mean, and I know you would argue that point. I mean, big
right,
time.
yeah, but we obviously disagree on that.
Yes, we obviously disagree on that.
Right.
But it's just, I guess I was trying to make a point there is that I believe science is good to a point. Science is great. Science, I love science.
Yeah, I should hope so.
Major.
We can't even connect this phone call without science. So
Yes. I love science.
you couldn't be on YouTube without science.
Yeah, I love science. And my main point with science is that you have a complete understanding in my life. Science will only take you so far. And then you have to have faith to go beyond that. I mean, and I know to you from what I know about atheism is when science ends, that's the end. If you look at science of a road, and when the science ends, that's where the atheist ends. But from that point on of the road is just faith. And and that, I guess that's the point that I was trying to make when I said that.
Yeah. You're almost losing me now, but the overall picture there is that I wonder if, by the way, when you mentioned that science is just theories, were you keying off of the fact that evolution is called a theory? Or was that that was just your language that you were using?
Well, you have the Big Bang Theory, you have evolution, the evolution theory.
You understand that in those senses, those theories are both Big Bang Theory and evolution theory are theories that describe a set of facts. That there are facts and there are scientific facts, and by scientific fact we mean something that we can be assured that we can be without having any other reason to believe otherwise. So,
okay. So basically, if you get another fact, that theory could change, right?
Exactly.
Yes, and my whole point is that you cannot. My whole point is that you cannot base. I feel like you cannot base your life on things that can change, like science. And for me personally,
so let's just make up a God and say it doesn't change.
Well, my God doesn't change.
Yeah,
the God that I believe in doesn't change.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is that, my next point in my video says that you have to have something that doesn't change, a strong foundation to build your life in.
Right.
Build your life
on. That's such a big jump. Oh, that's such a big jump. That's coming up, actually. That's coming up in a point. Because I have things that are strong to build my life around. They just don't happen to be belief in invisible things. They happen to be beliefs in things that I can prove, that I can understand. Like the belief that if I go murder somebody, there's a high percentage that'll get caught and end up in a jail cell. I understand that in my life, by the way, just to be clear, you mentioned in there that you say, that these are just theories and they're not facts. I want to, so that you understand, you do your own research here after the fact, and anybody listening can go do their own research after the fact. The theory of the Big Bang and the theory of evolution are ways to describe many different facts that we have that put together. It's not, when you say it's just a theory, you play a big trick on language there, because it's just a theory that's bounds more factual and has bounds more evidence than any God that you believe in. So, I mean, it's a set of facts. And in fact, evolution, as I understand it, has many more facts behind it than the Big Bang Theory. There's actually other theories, I think Smolin's theory. Mike is better at this than I am. He's my cosmology and scientific geek. So I won't even get into it, but the evolution theory of evolution is the compilation of literally millions of facts that describe how evolution occurs.
Sure, and if you look at the design theory or whatever, they've got facts to back that up. I mean, from what I understand.
Okay. Oh, from what you understand. I was going to say, name one fact that proves intelligent design. I'd like to hear one. Just one. I've never heard one to this day. And I've been studying it for 8 years.
Well, I'm assuming that I have not researched.
Yeah, don't assume, man. Then we're both asses. Seriously, I mean, don't assume. You're just assuming they have facts behind them. You've got to do the research, man.
Well, I have not done my research on that. I was just using that you can have a set of facts and come up with two different theories on it. You know?
Yeah, one theory could actually have some validity behind it, and the other one could have no validity behind it. But at the same time, that's why the theory of evolution is what it is. That, okay, somebody else could take the facts that are worked into the theory of evolution and come up with a completely different theory. In fact, have you ever heard of punctuated equilibria?
I've heard of that, yeah.
That is the theory that evolution can occur very quickly. Major changes can happen very fast in short bursts, and then changes don't happen for a very long period of time. The theory, I believe, was originally proposed by Stephen Jay Gould. If it wasn't Gould was a big proponent of it. But the point is that that's a way to describe the facts that we have about evolution. You should really take the evolution thing much further than any conversation we have. I'm even reluctant to even speak about it. I think the audience knows that you and I obviously have different opinions on it, and so really where it's up to is it's up to you researching after the fact. And if you want to use our forum, our message board, as a way to discuss this with my partner, who is our evolutionary geek, the way we work here, we all kind of have a different specialty, and mine is kind of discussing the philosophy of religion and why people believe what they believe, and how valid the claims are of religion. And I have an understanding of science, but not nearly as much as my microbiologist partner. So, you should come on my message board and I'll alert him to you and let him know that we had this discussion, and
okay.
We could open up a textual dialogue as well. So let me move on. Let me move on to the next point.
They're just ideas that scientists have based on the laws of science and what they have observed in our physical universe. That's all they are. They're theories. They're not facts.
I'm even letting you get the last word on that one. I'll move on to the next point.
Science can't explain how life began on Earth in the first place. Science cannot answer all of your life's questions.
Okay, that's kind of interesting because you say that as if you're expecting science to answer it. I believe in the power of my toaster. It can toast my bread. But my toaster does not answer all of life's questions. So should I stop believing that my toaster can toast bread? You want me to answer it? No. The answer is no. And my point is, science doesn't ever claim to be able to answer all of life's questions. Science can answer certain questions.
Well, from my experience talking with the atheists, is that they almost bring science up to the God level. You know, they try to explain their whole lives and all that based on science. I mean, you know, from my perspective, and maybe I'm totally wrong when I'm saying this.
You can't get like morals from science. Science doesn't teach us anything about morals. Although science maybe someday can answer some of those questions that you want answers to. If it can't answer them all today, it's not fair to say that it can never answer them.
Well, I'm not saying. I mean, there's a lot of
you said science can explain how life began, is what you said. Science actually has a very good understanding of how life began. Someday they might actually be able to repeat over and over and over in high school classrooms creation of life from non-life with a small little kid.
If that happened, that would be the most amazing thing to see.
Well,
if we could actually do that. But we have a theory that is describing the fact that we think we know how, but my point of view, from a Christian standpoint of view, is that God created life.
Right. You should look into the Stanley Miller experiment or the Miller-Urey experiment or the current today modern versions of the experiment. There are people that are working right now in creating life from non-life.
I think a rational, sane person would put their faith in something that's perfect in every way, like God. To me, that's the most logical, sane choice to make of where to put your faith.
How far are you away from that position today?
I don't know. I mean, from this conversation here, you seem like a rational, sane person. From my experience talking to you, maybe I was a little bit harsh on when I said that. But I do believe that you have to base your life on something that's perfect and something that doesn't change, that has universal truth, and that's the God of the Bible. When I said that statement, I was looking at the videos with Brett King. He's one of those people that was just crazy to me, you know, and that's where my thought process when I said that.
Okay.
And,
I think that's probably why you're getting a lot of attention then, because you really it's really hard. I noticed that as I started to study philosophy and critical thought, that it's really hard to make accurate statements. And you have to watch it because it's easy to make generalizations about entire groups of people. I find myself catching myself all the time. Absolute statements. Sure. I see atheists do this when I talk about bad logic. I see atheists do this. In fact, just somebody today told us that, they don't want us to speak up against religion. So they said something like, all you're doing is getting Christians mad at you. Okay? Now, those are the exact words. All you're doing is getting Christians mad at you. Now, that's an illogical statement. That's an absolute statement that says that is the only thing that I'm doing. Now, you're living proof. You're a testament to that I'm not just getting Christians mad at me. I'm also building relationships with Christians. You and I have come to common ground on some things. I've persuaded you to think differently on a couple of issues. So clearly that atheist was thinking, poorly. They were using poor logic. And not to ridicule you, but when you look at Brett Keane and then you make a generalization about all atheists in the same way, you're falling for that same, logical flaw there, which is that you are not being, very careful in how you use your language. And that's probably why you're getting so much response, because it's almost heated.
What? You have been on that damn computer doing that stupid shit all day.
Okay. My wife wants me to eat. Is there like any other questions you want to cover? I can cover something really fast.
Okay, yeah, let's see here.
Why is it important to put your faith in something perfect?
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, this is good. Yeah, perfect. God is perfect. What is perfect?
See, one thing from what I understood about atheists is that they ask you for a definition, and then they disprove the definition.
Well, okay, you know what, though? Because, first of all, I'm not going to disprove the definition, but the reason why I'm asking, because I don't want to make a logical flaw. I could make an argument right now, like, for example, okay, I'll play it differently for you, just for your benefit. Is giving AIDS to people perfect?
Giving AIDS to people? Well, I mean, but probably the best way that I know how to explain that statement is that God's mind, or God's truth, God's mind, God's qualities from an infinite point of view, or from God's point of view is perfect. But from the human point of view, there are some qualities about God, or some questions I have God is, why would God, like 911 happens? Why did God let that thing happen? there are some things that I don't understand about God that I have to accept on faith, which, you know, it's like, why would a baby get born with AIDS? You know, why would, you know, there's a bunch of questions that I have. And to me, God is perfect in every, you know, in my mind, if I think that God is perfect, God is even more perfect, you know, beyond that. He's infinitely perfect.
Okay, so then it is perfect to create AIDS from God's perspective.
God has his reasons, and sometimes I don't understand God's reasons.
If you had the power to create AIDS, okay, would you do it?
From a human perspective, you know, I don't know why he created AIDS. AIDS is a horrible disease.
How about sudden infant death syndrome? How about miscarriages?
Those are all horrible.
Ooh, how about the natural biological process that every time that you have sex, you release 7 million sperm, and in God's system, 6.9 million of them die. Is that perfect? What's the point? What's the point on killing all of that potential life? And then apparently being so much against abortion. Now, I think actually you're interesting because you are pro-choice, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so I won't even argue that point with you because kudos to that. And by
the way, I'm pro. I believe in legalization of drugs.
Yeah, that's like what's up with that? What you're a pothead too, aren't you? Is that what it is?
No. And also, I believe in legalization of prostitution.
Yeah, that's crazy. So that's
I'm a very unusual Christian.
You liberals are nuts. You godless liberals liberals.
Yes, I'm very, very liberal.
Yeah. All right. Well, you gotta go to dinner. So I got it. God's perfect. Sudden infant death syndrome's great. And yeah. See, I hope that you leave on that note, understanding why I couldn't ever accept that your God is perfect. Because
the most important thing in this conversation is now I know why you don't accept God is because you don't have any proof.
There you go.
And I don't fault you on that. I think you're a great person.
Thanks. So, I think you're a really good guy too.
And you know, and if God, in my prayer for you, which you know. Is I wish
you don't even need to waste your breath, man. Come on.
No. My prayer for you is I wish God would come down and give you the proof that you need to believe in them.
All right, and my thought for you, because I don't pray, I think my thought for you is that I hope that you take some time to research anything that we covered that you want to verify, and please don't just trust me blindly because I want you to have some more proof behind it. And Happy New Year to you, and go enjoy the night.
Too.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
Bye-bye.
All right, buddy. Bye.